Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 10th, 2024. It's been raining here the last few days. Hoping for some sunshine in the next couple of days and for things to warm up. It's in the very low 40s this morning, and I think we'll get maybe 52 degrees Fahrenheit today. One of the things I've been doing quite a few things in between out here, in between all the rain. Moving firewood, getting that stuff set, moving materials in the wood yard as well, doing some cleanup up here in the first food forest area, and doing some planting for the second and third food forest areas. I did get some of the seed down, grass seed down by the pond, the most recently excavated pond, so that's taken care of. And doing some divisions of plants as well. So right now I'm in the first food forest, and this morning I went ahead and posted 3 different articles on pruning fruit and nut trees. And so one of the articles, and this is at mindfullivingsanctuary.com, go to the top, click on articles, and there's a whole bunch of articles that I've been writing this year. Old ones that I've modified and all that I post on our new website. And there aren't pictures on there yet. When I have time to put pictures in, I'll add photographs as well. But the 3 articles have to do with pruning fruit and nut trees. And for example, I talk about problems in one of the articles about the types of new growth that really should be pruned and all. And if you don't stay on top of it, it can be a real problem. So things like water sprouts, root suckers, limbs, branches that come off at a very acute angle. In other words, less than, if the limb coming off the tree is like this, instead of being nice and wide, and I'll try and show you an example here in a minute of the bark gets embedded in between the 2 limbs, and that really stresses out the tree and create more issues. So that's one of the articles I wrote about the different types of things that should be pruned and all. And I think that's at the top of the list on at the website. Then another article I wrote was about the traditional pruning techniques, and that really goes over like for years, either I would have a central leader or a modified central leader, like on an apple tree or a cherry tree. So that means having like one main trunk, and I explain it all in the articles, and then the support branches going off to the side. And I've been steering away from that, with the exception of standard root structures. So if I have a grafted tree that's on a tall overstory type root system, then I might use the standard one, because it's mostly it's an overstory plant. And so I have some trees like that, but for most of the ones that I'm producing and all, it's like in the food forest, I have a lot of peaches, plums, pears, Asian pears, apples, pawpaws, I said cherries, I hope I said, apricots, and then some crosses as well. And then we have the different berry bushes, and I know I'm forgetting some of the fruit trees. The nut trees, we have the pecans, the butternut, the heart nut, the almonds, the English walnuts. We do have some black walnuts as well, and we are growing some shagbark hickories as well. But those are in different parts of marginal zones around the food forest for the most part. And so that second article really goes over the standard techniques for pruning trees. So if we want an open vase shape for a peach tree and all that, and that's the way I did things for years. Then the third article down on the list is really the way that I've modified everything. So our orchard or food forests aren't like many people's. Ours are not like necessarily standard permaculture food forests. Certainly I had overly planted plants. I planted them too close together, and that's our first food forest. And so that's why I'm taking so many of the plants out, and they actually feed like the third food forest and future food forests as well. And so I don't as densely populate the areas. We still do, you know, certainly we want the diversity in there, so we don't want a whole bunch of apples in a row and so on. But we want to have diversity, so we'll put that support trees in amongst the various fruit trees. But I don't want to have two pears necessarily right next to each other, or two apples necessarily right next to each other. Now I do have some sections in the second food forest where I'm doing techniques like that, but they're different varieties and different, there's different aspects to them as well. And I'm rambling on here. So did I start talking about the third one? So the third article is really about what we've modified, and I think it's more of a regenerative form of soil production to meet the needs of the plants. So we're very organic here. We don't use fertilizers, no herbicides, pesticides, those sorts of things. I may use some organic fungicide in the future for brown rot. We'll see if I end up doing that. But so far I've been able to manage things without using even organic, you know, fertilizers or pesticides. So, and one of the reasons is that it's a little bit different is because this is really welcoming the wildlife in here. So there's deer in here from late afternoon to early morning. The deer are through each of the food forests and all. And the herbivores really have a lot of benefits to a food forest. Now there's the drawbacks where you can get deer rub, you can have them pulling down limbs and damaging them as well. And so the article that I wrote was about, that third article, is all about our new techniques, the things that we've modified in pruning and all to encourage different growth and all. So this tree here is one that I use a traditional, a modified traditional technique for this apple tree here. This is one that we don't really care for that much. The apples are red delicious, but these are examples of water sprouts. So when I had pruned before, pruned a limb here, a new green shoot came up, and so that really saps the energy from the trees. So these are all water sprouts right here. One of the things I like about the way that I started pruning this type of apple tree is I can go under here and mow underneath without getting damaged and all, without damaging the tree and all. And I've started to let the small suckers or water sprouts come up around the base of the trees and let the deer prune those off. The larger the tree, the less of a chance of a deer doing significant deer rub and really promoting disease or killing the tree. But these are all examples of water sprouts here. These all need to be pruned off. You can see when I did some major pruning in the past, some large spots, a lot of them have healed over, all of these spots in the past. But I've been, I just don't have as much time as I used to have, and I'm not keeping up with the pruning. So that's one of the reasons for the modified approaches, which you can read about in the article. This is some of the pruning I did the first run through on this apple tree here. But these, believe it or not, were all water sprouts. And this is 3 years of growth in here. And this tree has some issues where the deer go ahead and grab a hold of these limbs here and pull them down for the leaves and for the fruit as well. So we'll be modifying all of these trees so that we can mow underneath it easily. This is a little bit too low, and we'll gradually change it. So I don't like downward facing branches, so I pruned this one off 2 years ago, and I got these two water sprouts, but these are going to work out because these ones reach up higher where the deer can't really get to them. I'm hoping this makes sense. And where the deer can reach up on their hind feet, grab a hold of these and pull these limbs down and damage them. And they get caught up in here. Now this is from me going through the mower and scalping these when I go through here. So it'll take a couple of years to get these into the shape that I want to get them into. I think there's an example. So here's the deer can just grab a hold of these, pull them down, and grab the fruit and the leaves off of those. And that's what we've experienced all over. Down here we have another example. So these trees are just too darn close to one another. We'll be modifying things there. Come down to this apple. This apple always produces tons of fruit for us. But again, if you have the water sprouts and the root suckers, or you have the crossing of branches, those sorts of things, they really create more of an issue. And so you can see the deer have pulled down some of these branches here. So I'll be pruning this back. Each year I've been pruning back, but I had to remove a great big blueberry bush here, another one over there, and open this up so we can get more airflow and all. But all of these, so in other words, there's water sprouts in here that all got to be taken off. Or what I'll do is I'll leave part of the water sprout and leave a couple of the lateral branches like these ones here. Prune this one off. I'll probably prune this one off, leave this one, and we'll see above here, and leave spaces in between for air. But one of the challenges is the heavier that you prune it, the more you're stimulating more vegetative growth. And when you're pruning it during the dormant season, that's going to tell it in the spring to shoot out. Instead of producing fruit, put more vegetative growth on. And that's one thing that we want to try and avoid. Fortunately, we have so much, we have such an abundance of fruit and nut trees here. We produce much more than what we need. Therefore, I can go in and modify the pruning techniques. It'll decrease production. And this is really a terrible example. This is not as bad as the one I just showed you up there, but you can see I had pruned off one here, and these were water sprouts, and these took 3 years to get to this point. And I intended to take these 3 off, and there were limbs that came out to the side, and I just didn't get to those. But we'll be adjusting things. So anyways, there are 3 articles. If you have comments or questions, please leave them on that site. I've made plenty of videos showing the pruning techniques that I've done in the traditional university accredited methods for pruning, and that's in one of the website articles that we posted. But you'll see that the 3rd one down, it's my modified approach that I'm using now. And because I don't have the time to do as much thinning as I'd like to do, and thinning is really important with our peach trees that produce so much fruit. And I'm just rambling on right now. But I just wanted to mention that those articles are there. I'm not going to show any footage necessarily of me doing pruning around here. If we get a nice day and the winds are calm and I am still pruning out here, I will post a video of me pruning and talking about it. But I have old videos in the past where I show, you know, what's a water sprout, what's too acute of an angle, where are branches, if they're allowed to grow, where they're going to cross and do rubbing as well, examples of diseased limbs, those sorts of things. I've made all those videos in the past. So that's it for today's video, folks. Just wanted to go over those things. Be sure to go to mindfullivingsanctuary.com, and at the top click on articles, and you'll be able to see those 3 articles. Hopefully they make sense and they're somewhat helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching, and stay safe. Bye-bye now.